Great rising, grand morning, good day, hello, hola, and the like. I want to share something really quick before I go off into my rant. I was trying to um, tap into, my next revelation. I love words. I love the power of words. I love what I have discovered by reading words from right to left. And this morning I was just focused on finding my next discovery as I was kind of talking to myself, meditating. And I think the statement was, or the phrase that came to mind was, um, not to sing a life is a song or to sing a song, whatever it was. I started to focus on the word song. And I was wondering if that word had, again, a mixed meaning, or if I could use my anagram skills to come up with something else. And immediately I realized that song in reverse is nos or nos, as in knowing, as in Gnosticism. Someone who claims to be an agnostic is someone who's saying that they do not have, or they have very little knowledge of supreme things, deities, gods, that nature. So gnosis or gnosis, gnostic with a Gnos, uh, again is knowledge, and we know that in the scripture, the Bible, Genesis, the tree of knowledge of good and evil uh, was a big deal. It took them away from paradise, and I definitely have many versions and examples of what I believe that tree represented. Uh, One I think that's worth sharing here is that it was a tree of um, representing self and the age of reasoning coming out of adolescence into uh, the age of childbearing, of being able to produce children. And so, again, the way the Bible is written to me is it's culturally challenging. So if you're not uh, born and raised as a Hebrew or Arabic, any of the languages that read backwards, or what we call backwards in English, so from right to left, if you are not naturally in that as a way of learning in life, then the context even of how things are written um, is going to be somewhat in reverse, if not directly in reverse. So anyway, like I said, the thing I wanted to highlight was look at words from not just from left to right as you are um, naturally taught to read, but look at words from right to left and scramble the words. I call it my soul train scramble board now. Just using um, a group of words, or group of letters rather, a group of letters to rearrange. Consider them being in a kind of ship or boat, and so depending on their placement and position, you will get a different message. Every letter, every character even has, like a person, it has many traits and characteristics about it. That being said, I wanted to perk up my morning with a different paradigm. Instead of my morning cup of Joe, I am having a morning cup of Jack. And I hadn't been drinking coffee a lot lately because, again, I felt like it was just a remote thing to do when you get up in the morning, start your day, but it's not necessarily the healthiest with it having caffeine and a stimulant. Um, it would be great if you are stimulated from having a good rest the night before, as well as some exercises, stretching to get the blood flowing versus, this kind of octane, this fuel from an external force. Again, water, ideal conditions, a fresh cup of green juice, which are favorite plants, fruits, and vegetables. So, this is my morning cup of Jack. However, again, black coffee. So I decided to put that up on the screen. It is not the actual cup, but it looks very similar. So grab your juice of choice, your beverage of choice, and just sit back and relax with me if you like. Um, as I just kind of freestyle and, like I said, rant. And I use that as a positive word today. Um, Life is an experience. Life is an experiment. I was searching on the on the web this morning, YouTube specifically, and I typed in something about being happy, and thankfully I did get a video about a person who did a TED talk, and he gave some good pointers, but it's not something that I had not heard before, and I was looking for something that I hadn't heard before. But I'll just highlight and share with you a couple of things that was said. One, talking about having healthy relationships, interacting with other people so that you can have an outlet for your stress. And I think we give stress too much credit, too much leeway in our life. It's expected now. It's expected. It's a common theme. It's the norm. And how many of you know out there that just because something is the norm doesn't mean it is good? Even the word normal, mal means bad. So the norm, mal, actually would be the bad, which is popular in today's time. And so I believe as we decide that life is an experience or experiment, even, then we become more of the explorer or the scientist or investigator, um, to be more curious about life. And I think that would make us even more happier than looking for friends and family and whomever to strike up a conversation, and then at some point you start dumping um, negativity, or again trying to be so positive, you both be positive, and then all of a sudden you're talking about the people that are not positive. And so we find ways to connect through commonality, and that was one of the things that um, gave me the incentive and the fuel to get on here this morning, and that is to share in similar interests. And I think that's what I have been missing, and I have not been um, taking that as my subject, as my direction. And so, using this video right here, this podcast, as an experiment, or valcast, I like to call it. The pod is a shell, it's an encasement, and we are encased in our physical body. And I'm sure you've heard people say things like we are spirit beings having a human experience. And so we're already understanding, comprehending, we already know that we are housed, we are encased in a physical body. Then we are encased in our clothes. And then we are encased in our bed. And then we are encased in our room. And then we are encased in our home, our shelter. And we go outside and we are encased in the world, much bigger encasement, but nonetheless, it is a closure. But then we go from the big world to our vehicle, which is probably one of the smallest encasements that we have outside of our body. And so, from one pod to another, we are often contracting, making ourselves small. And so, I am interested in those that want to spread their wings, want to uh, proverbially soar in their life as a free spirit. And so, to do that, you use the same metaphorical traits of an eagle or a free bird. One, they stay in an elevated position. They have an aerial view of the things going on below. And usually the only time that they swoop down is when they are going for their prey. So they're targeting their food, their substance, their sustenance. Um, they are always active, building their nest or flying with other like kind. Um, the only thing I don't necessarily want to translate into the flying part of the fastness of life with the birds, unless I'm physically on an airplane, is that rapid go, go, go movement. I think it has its place. But again, to think about the groundedness that we have to be as humans or as spirit, then traveling at a human's pace, I think is best to keep in mind. And that means at the pace of our ability to comfortably walk or jog. Again, even run, for short periods of time. But for the most part, if we calibrate our success as walkers, then we won't get so stressed out because we are not flying by the seat of our pants, so to speak. Um, so we wouldn't need the coffee as we kind of recalibrate. We wouldn't need this fuel and this jet fuel and octane boost every morning to get out of the bed or to go about our day if we put in the right mindset of human experience. The human experience includes anything we have on the planet, going back to the analogy or the metaphor of being like a tree, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. We are all trees of knowledge. We have a certain level of stability, and there are things that we stand on, our knowledge, our belief systems. But when it's time to move forward, uh, again, now we have to take on a different aspect of our existence. And so, in being happy, I believe starting now with this consciousness of life being an experiment, and I am the subject and I am the observer, then I have the power to introduce different stimulating objects or thoughts in order to get the kind of response that I want. So if I want to feel happy, I will do things that I believe um, or introduce things into my life that I believe bring happiness. And I believe at this point, having some friends, some subscribers that I get to know on a a level of accountability. What are you doing today that you want to share? How close are you to that goal of, XYZ, whatever that goal is that you have shared, and building a community with, again, just a more mellow approach so that stress is not glorified nor needed. Uh, there may be times, again, of eustress, that's spelled EUSTRESS, which is supposed to be a kind of good stress. Um, and I think that only comes when you know that you have a positive outcome. It's kind of like working a puzzle. You open up the box, you know all the pieces are there, and so you are motivated to see the job all the way through. Um, if you don't have the resources, for example, money in situations, we can often be stressed if the only time we have earned money or created money and wealth is that we had to borrow it from someone or somewhere. So having a different answer to our quote stress or our problems, I believe is a good way to reduce, if not altogether, nullify the stressors in our life. I heard the guy, he was talking about the study that they did about people and their happiness, and it's been going on since the 30s following particular groups. And he mentioned that one of the groups was children that were, um, he didn't use the word high risk, but it was along those kinds of lines, those kind of words that people use when they talk about those who are either financially um, challenged or inner city urban. Uh, Again, and if I am wrong, then I apologize. But to me, they're usually talking about black boys and black girls. But when we use these ambiguous words so that people know what you're inferring, but you don't use the words um, that would really drive the point home, like children who are post slavery uh, products, the offspring of those who were enslaved and beaten and raped and uh, all the other horrific things that were done. They are our fruit, and they deserve special attention, the same as anyone that has been uh, victimized through their skin color, through their ethnicity. Um, Something I often share with those that I do talk to is I believe one of the reasons why blacks have not been able to succeed and thrive to the capacity, the free flowing capacity that I know that we can, is because our ethnicity label has changed every decade, every 5 years, every few minutes, we're something else. Uh, and again, this is for those who believe that all the black people were already here and were never slaves and all of that. Again, this is not that conversation. And I'm not saying that there weren't native black people here. Um, Black people have always been everywhere. In the beginning, darkness covered the earth. I believe the Bible and the scriptures are actually talking about people at that point, not just a void, black, dark earth. Um, so, that being said, for those who were shipped from other places, taken out of their home, taken away from their core, taken away from their core values, and then uh, watched family members get mutilated, hung, strung up, castrated, spit on, laughed at, taking pictures with them as if they were some kind of animal kill. These traumatic things are in the body, in the cells, and the memory. Since you are not Adam in the sense of this ideal created being that came straight from dirt and straight from God, you came from parents. That means that you have the DNA, the characteristics, the memories of your parents and grandparents and great grandparents and great great grandparents, which we called ancestors. You have their information living inside of your body. And that's why we cannot ignore the trauma and the drama that has occurred. And so I do believe in renewing your mind, reparenting yourself, being born again by spiritual means. I do believe in forgiveness and moving through. And I also believe in acknowledging these pains before we start promoting, hey, go find some friends and, uh, you know, be happy. I think we could be a lot more, I know we could, as a people, be a lot happier if it was acknowledged. And even if it's not acknowledged by others, then when it is acknowledged by us as the individual, we have others to validate our challenges and this fact that I just brought to light. When we acknowledge it that way, the same way that others would like to acknowledge that they were survivors of abuse and camps and things of that such, then we will feel validated and accept that, yeah, it happened. Now that I know that it happened, feel that it happened, experienced it on a level, excuse me, then I am ready to move through what we do about it. I think sometimes the fear of the perpetrator in any offense, the fear is that the victim will expose and expect restitution, reparation, uh, clarification, all the things that they should. And my thing is, again, if you deal the problem, then you now have to accept and face the consequences. My thing, though, to the victim is don't wait on it. Get the validation from yourself. Get the validation from this video, this audio, so that you can move on and heal. Yes, it happened. The whatever. Again, I don't want to just continue to bring up trauma words or trigger words. But I do believe there is and should be a safe space for us to use all of our words, use all of our feelings, and then be able to objectify, come out of the experience and see ourselves as the strong one that survived and now can thrive off of that energy, knowing what your ancestors as well as yourself have gone through. And so being called Black, Negro, colored, African American, Afro American, and any other names that could, go along these lines. Again, it's a constant reminder of our identity being pushed around. You can use these words as a way to, again, experiment. See which one works best for you. See what era, what age best resonates with the life that you want to live. I often think of the Afro American, um, Black and I'm Proud, Panther movement. Um, Again, not to necessarily relive, but to extract a sense of pride and harmony and togetherness that we might have seen then that we don't see as often now. And so I invite you to share this video, this audio. I invite you to like it, comment, and reach out to me if you want to have healthy conversations. Um, Help me as we guide each other to never end a conversation without good closure and good actions. And should we meet again, bringing back any rewards or spoils from our journey away from each other. This is what have you been doing while you were away? Um, and so that is my action item to you today, is to reach out to me uh, by way of the information that I'm going to leave in the description box. Have a conversation. Um, get to know people again beyond what they look like, and share some very transparent, open, and positive, as well as the negative. But again, sharing it in a way that it doesn't blame, it doesn't leave us in a place of victim stance or victimhood. I'm also interested to teach our young Black boys and Black girls, our upcoming princes and princesses, kings and queens, and royalty, and start speaking that into their life and over their life. It's not that we used to be kings and queens. We are kings and queens of the Most High God. And so live your life today with that in mind. Enjoy your cup of Jack, and I will talk to you again in the next audio. Take care and God bless.